I never thought that it was going to be more than just the one restaurant, and to see how it's grown and has been incredible. So I grew up in Iowa City, went to City High, went to the University of Iowa, before I kind of changed career paths and then went to Kirkwood in Cedar Rapids for culinary. You know, I grew up in a house that we didn't go out to eat a whole lot. My dad was a good avid home cook. I mean, nothing crazy, but he would cook a lot of things from scratch, and I appreciated cooking for what it did and how it brought people together. And then I don't know, I had an affinity to it. I remember, like, as a young kid watching PBS. They have a show called Great Chefs, Great Cities. So instead of watching like cartoons, I would watch this classic French brigade with like all this shiny stainless steel and the big tall white toques. And after I went to culinary school, graduated, I worked locally for a couple of years while my wife finished her master's degree. I ended up meeting a chef out of Seattle. His name was Keith Luce, and he worked at a restaurant called the Herb Farm. And I'd been out there for like 6 years, and we were kind of trying to figure out, you know, it's getting pretty challenging having 2 kids with, you know, her working days and me working nights, and we didn't have any family support. So I was already looking to move back this way. And I had applied for the chef de cuisine position at Kirkwood. Literally had just hung up my 3rd and final interview for the chef position. And out of nowhere, Doug Getch, he just Facebook's messages me, just says, hey. He worked with my dad, but him and I had never really had any like direct communication. So I write back like, hey, what's up? And you know, he just kind of goes into it and says he's moving back to Iowa, and he's opening this kind of like gastropub, brewpub in Solon. And he was curious if I knew anybody locally that would be up to the task of running the kitchen. He was truly just trying to like tap into whatever network he had, but because I was planning on moving anyway, I just instantly kind of got excited about the prospect of being part of something new, of kind of starting at the ground floor. I told him I needed to think about it for the weekend, and I called him back like 4 hours later. I said, I'm in. I mean, honestly, it's maybe cliche, but Matt's an inspiration. He's a CEO. He's truly like the definition of a visionary. You know, I look at someone like Sean Towley, and even Chris. Both of those guys have really amazing stories in their own lives through a lot of challenges, like adversities that I've myself never been faced with, and to see them get past all that and grow into like real leaders and like just amazing contributing members of the team is just unbelievable. When Doug and I first started talking about menu concept, we always wanted it to be, you know, really kind of rooted in wholesome Iowa Midwest fare. To do it from scratch, we wanted to do it with authenticity, and so we decided to make our own bread. We decided to make all of our own condiments and pickles and all these things, all these building blocks that most restaurants would just purchase. And I think that when you cook food that way, people don't necessarily know why it's so good. They just feel it. And this has taken on such a life of its own, and the people that have come through this. It feels like every time we needed the right person to show up, they did. It's been a wild 10 years, and I'm excited to see what happens in the next 10 years.